ever since I sat through Jurassic World Rebirth, in the hope that it would be good, given that it was from the director that revived Godzilla and the co-screenwriter of the original movie, I've been debating whether it was even worth reviewing. Seems like everyone else has probably already beaten me to talking about how stupid this film is, and how, yes, I think it may be the single stupidest film I have ever watched that was made by a major Hollywood studio. You see, I sort of grade on a sliding scale when it comes to movies and stupidity, and I don't necessarily hate stupid movies. I mean, there are movies that can be good, dumb fun while they're, you know, not the smartest. Like, for instance, I like all three of the Mummy movies. However, this just felt like the characters were too stupid to live. Now, normally when I say that, I mean that the characters are too stupid to live through the fictional situation the writers have put them in. But in this case, I mean they are too stupid to live through a trip to Walmart. Every step of the way, they make the wrong choices. I think I will go through and outline what I think is stupid on this, because I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I really was trying to figure out a way to approach a review of this, but then I started thinking about all the ways that I would have fixed this and made it work better, and given the film a sense of tension and pace that I feel was sadly lacking. I feel like parts of this movie could have worked if there had just been a sense of tension, if I had just cared about the characters, and if the pacing had been better. Also felt like it was way too long. So I'm going to address that right here. How would I have fixed Jurassic World Rebirth? Now, for this exercise, I'm going to assume several things. I'm going to assume that the budget was fixed at what it was by the studio. Basic plot points. Often a studio producer comes up with the basic plot beats and then hands them off to a director and screenwriter to work out how these plot beats come in. And in a franchise film like this, normally they've already cast the stars of the movie before a director or a screenwriter is even assigned. That is bass-ackwards to how it should work, but that is the nature of franchise filmmaking in the 21st century, sadly enough. So I'm going to assume all of that was set in stone. Working within those parameters, though, I think there are some things that could have been done to make this work. First things first, I would have drastically shortened the movie to get us to the dinosaurs much quicker, since it's clear I saw this in a packed theater, and it was clear that the audience was only engaged when the dinosaurs were on screen. So I would have gotten them there faster. I would have trimmed it down to somewhere between 90 and 120 minutes. I really don't think a Jurassic Park movie these days warrants more than a 2-hour screen time, and I think most of them can be gotten down to around 90 minutes at this point, and I think that sort of bing bang boom type filmmaking that we seem to have lost in the intervening years, now that everything has to be an epic with something to say, has done some damage to this type of blockbuster filmmaking. Like, for instance, last week, I had a day when I wasn't feeling very well. The summer heat had gotten to me, and I just wasn't feeling very well, so I was just sitting in the air conditioning, watching whatever happened to be recommended to me on my TV's streaming thing, and one of the things that I watched was Commando, and that is a very stupid movie too. But one thing that struck me was, in the 80s, they seemed to understand that these movies were stupid popcorn flicks that were just there for the action. so they get them done in around 90 minutes. And in that way, I didn't have time to meditate that long on how it wasn't until after the movie was over that I meditated on just how stupid some of the plot points were and things like that. So, I figure that would vastly help some of these movies. A 90 to 100 minute runtime with a goal of getting it as close to 90 minutes as you possibly could. That would also lead to more showings per day in theaters, which would probably lead to more profits. The second thing I would have changed is I would have made it a focused story. As it stands now, the film feels very unfocused. It's just I didn't know whether the mercenaries or the family were supposed to be the main characters. And as such, neither group felt like they were developed at all. And also, I felt like we were just cutting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which it made for a very disjointed story. So, and I would have also changed some of the motivations of the characters to make it more clear and make the story more focused. So, here's the first thing I would have changed, is I would have made the family the central characters, first of all. Second of all, I would have adjusted a few things about them, like the annoying kid who at first seems like he can't even find a bright red container of survival supplies that is right out next to his face, but then all of a sudden he seems to be an Olympic level swimmer. Yeah, I would have made that character more consistent, and I would have made him more consistent on the less annoying, more useful side. And here's how I would have done that. I would have explained that he was, rather than just him randomly being on the boat, because apparently the teenage girl just bugged her father to take her on the boat to the certain death area that is forbidden to all humans. I would have instead had it be a situation where this kid he's just getting out of high school, and he wants to either join the Coast Guard or the Navy, something like that. So he goes along with the family to get some sailing experience. Now, he's read a lot of books, and he is a very good swimmer. They explain that early on. So that explains how he somehow knows how to survive through all this stuff, and it makes him a helpful addition to our main characters in the cast. And that also helps make him more likable. And it means rather than him being somebody that the father was bugged to take along, instead of them having this antagonistic relationship that goes nowhere in the story, make him likable by making him willing to learn about things on the ship. So, here's how I would have begun it. Instead of having the father knowingly sail them into certain death at the equator and do something wildly illegal with his two daughters on the ship, and they never explain what his motivation for doing something like this would be, especially when it would actually be cheaper, quicker, and safer for them to just take a plane between the two destinations that they were going to. I would have had, they were on a pleasure cruise just to learn this, and we open the movie. The dramatic opening of the movie has nothing to do with a candy bar disabling a security system. In fact, that whole section of the movie I would get rid of. It would be gone. If you can't think of a good, intelligent way to explain what went wrong in the park, then go with the scariest thing, which is this sort of like park breeding facility, whatever it was, just disappeared off the map. Nobody knows what happened there. And that gives it a level of spookiness and mystery that goes throughout the movie. Instead, you open it up in the middle of a huge storm, like a once-in-a-lifetime hurricane. And this would, and this could sort of be seen maybe as a callback to the original film, but it's like a hurricane came out of nowhere, because this does sometimes happen in the Pacific and the Atlantic. It sometimes happens in some parts of those oceans. I mean, if you watch the channels I do where they cover shipwrecks and stuff, you will hear about storms suddenly coming out of nowhere where they had no warning and taking ships down. So instead, they were sailing somewhere perfectly safe. It was sort of like just a family vacation thing, plus a chance for the boyfriend to get some hands-on, non-book experience with sailing, so that he could maybe, ace whatever, whatever practical tests he has to get through to get into the Coast Guard or Navy. And they're just already being swamped. And then they end up in the eye of the storm. Suddenly it's calm, they think they're safe, and that's when the dinosaur attacks them and flips their boat upside down, and they're stay upside down on their boat, and they're sending out the SOS call. Then suddenly they get rescued by this mysterious boat, and oddly enough, this boat is reluctant to tell them where they were. They're shocked because they still don't realize that they've sailed into the certain death area of the equator where dinosaurs live. So they weren't expecting that dinosaur to be there at all. So they don't have this surprise anymore. And at first they're sort of taking to their rescuers and being very grateful. But then the father begins to suspect that there's something off about these people who rescued them. They seem way too mercenary, and they just came across them in the storm instead of turning away from their mission and wasting audiences' time with that. And this is when we start learning about the characters of the mercenaries, is as they uncover bits by bits, and the father and boyfriend are not at all happy that these mercenaries are taking them into danger. And this is where you stabilize and make Scarlett Johansson's character make sense. Have her play it a lot colder. Have it be that she's been doing this thing for a long time, and she's one of the driving forces making them go forward. She does that in the movie anyway, but in the movie, she doesn't come off as somebody who is driven to do this. And instead, and the mission that they keep talking about where she lost her partner on her last mission, make that tie in to why she is determined to do this. Instead of just having them mention that her mother died of some sort of heart attack or something and then never bring it up again and we don't even know her mother's name, instead have it be that whatever mission she was on, you don't have to go into too many details, that her partner died on, tie that in and make that also the thing that makes it so she's unwilling to give this up and give up the money. Have it be that mission went so sideways and it went so wrong, basically and it was so wildly illegal what she was doing, that now her only chance is to get a lot of money really fast and basically disappear off the grid. That's it. So this mission is literally life and death for her. And she's not putting up with anyone who gets in the way. Make the scientist a lot more. Also make the scientist character a lot more selfish. Basically, make everyone on the ship, to some degree, a threat to the survival of the family. And then the family has our sympathy, and we're locked in with them. And then you can use the family, as they're all thrown together in their survival situation, to gradually, as the movie goes on, humanize these mercenaries that at first were just another external threat to the family, just like the dinosaurs. And if you want to lighten up Scarlett Johansson's character, have it happen gradually, as maybe she sees some of herself in one of the daughters or something, and she goes from being mercenary and just determined to get this money no matter what, and the scientist just determined to see dinosaurs in the wild no matter what. Have it be that change his motivation where it turns out he wasn't talked into this. He'd been trying to find some way to get to these islands, and when these people came calling, it was his dream come true because he's learned that he can only learn so much about dinosaurs from the zoos. And he's sick of doing that thing. And then here's the other big change I would make. I was so bored watching waiting for the evil business guy to turn completely evil, because we've seen this character in what is it? What are there, like 7 Jurassic Park movies? In 7 Jurassic Park movies, I swear we've seen this character 66 billion times in the space of 7 Jurassic Park movies. So I would change his motivation a bit. You can still have him endanger everyone and do some bad things, but change it from the money. In fact, make it that he's pretty much spent all his money on this last-ditch effort. Have it be that, I don't know, have the dead relative motivation go to him. Have it be wife, father, mother, somebody. Somebody died of a heart condition, and and he's been obsessed to the point where he now has tunnel vision. He's not out and out evil. It's sort of, have him be like a darker version of Hammond from the first movie. Like, Hammond was a misguided. They changed Hammond from being basically a self-centered businessman in the book to a misguided idealist who just got tunnel vision on this wonderful thing he wanted to do for the world in the first movie. Do the same thing with this character, but you can make him a little darker. You can make him maybe hesitate to save the one girl when she gets swept off the boat, but don't make him actually attack her. Sort of give him just one moment, just 1 second's hesitation, because because he's so driven by this vision of ending heart disease in humans. He's so laser focused on that because he doesn't want anyone else to lose a relative to it. You could also take some inspiration from Jack Black's character in Peter Jackson's King Kong. I really liked the way they wrote Jack Black's character, where he had a dark edge to him, and there was some selfishness in there, but they also had a part of him where you could see that with each death, he was feeling a greater and greater sense of responsibility and a greater and greater sense to make all these deaths mean something in the long run. And so the more dangerous it became, the more driven he became as the movie go on, and ironically that made him more dangerous to the people around him. The fact that he cared about the dead people made him more dangerous to the living people. Do a similar thing with the business guy, just to shake things up a bit. Like have him in survival situations always go for that dinosaur blood over a person, simply because he is so tunnel visioned on this. Have him talk about how important it is to get it. Also, simplify the plot. Make it less video gamey. This movie felt very video gamey, like each dinosaur felt like it was its own level in a video game. In a way, I kind of wish that they had done a completely different plot for this, and they had saved this plot, because this plot, while it's not smart enough to keep me engaged in a movie, I would have accepted it as an explanation for running around the dinosaur island in a Jurassic Park video game, and I think they missed a trick by not using something like not making a video game out of something like this. But anyway, so make him more of a danger, and instead of splitting it up with the family being split up and the mercenaries being split up, have have them have them on the ship, but have the ship break in two when it crashes. So, I was so there, and have have them split up with each other. Have some mercenaries with some of the family, and some of the family with some of the mercenaries on opposite points of the island, and then they can each group can learn about each other as they help each other survive through the dinosaurs. And then simplify the plot. Don't have it be free dinosaurs they have to get samples from for no reason. Have it be that the dinosaur, the giant evil dinosaur that was like bigger and meaner than a T-Rex, have that be the only one they need blood from. Have that be have it be that when this guy bought out engine stuff when they went into bankruptcy, he only bought it. The businessman only bought it because of because engine was working on the same problem, and have him have gotten obsessed once he found out that they had actually cracked it, but they hadn't been able to get any blood samples of this one dinosaur off of the island, because that would make him so much more relatable, and it would then give the audience a sense of tension, because the audience would have a reason to like him and not just be waiting for him to turn evil, full-blown evil, and stab our heroes in the back like it's aliens. And think about that. That causes a sense of conflict in the audience, where they don't like this guy all the way, but they are waiting to see if he'll choose to do the right thing at some point. Still have him killed by the dinosaur that got him, but have him die, and have him die because of his tunnel vision, but then have him pass the case with the blood sample to Scarlett Johansson, and then she has to decide if saving the lives of all, and give her a chance. Here's the thing: give her character an arc by having her be so focused on getting this money and everything, and being so cold to everyone, but then she gradually warms to one of the daughters a little, but then have a moment in the movie where she has to choose between the money and taking this case that will save billions of lives, and no longer being able to get anything from it, or saving the family or something. Have her have to make a choice at some point between her own desires and possibly having to face the consequences of her life's actions, and maybe ending up in prison at the end, but she saves the family and the research. Have her have a chance. Instead of having that helicopter just get destroyed, give her a chance to get away from the helicopter, and have her get on it and start going away, and then have the helicopter, and then if you want the helicopter to get destroyed so that they have to get out by a boat, you have her choose to turn around when she realizes that there's no way the family is going to make it all. The family and the rest of the people there are going to make it off, and she turns back, and maybe give a purpose to the little dinosaur or something that the little girl had. Like, maybe have the little dinosaur somehow end up accidentally in whatever case or something that she has the blood sample in, whatever backpack. Somehow there's a switch up. She ends up with the little dinosaur. The little dinosaur reminds her of the innocence of the little girl, and she decides to risk her own life. For the first time in the movie, she decides to risk her own life for somebody else's to save them. That would give Scarlett Johansson something to play too. So she goes back there. You still have the guy leading off the evil giant, retarded T-Rex with his flare. Only this time, instead of him surviving for no reason, we have the T-Rex. The T-Rex is the closest thing I think the United States has to an iconic monster like Godzilla. I mean, I guess we have King Kong, but I think the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, people expect it to be there and to be major. If you're going to have the one boat captain survive, have it be because all of a sudden they've crossed in. Have them establish early on that the different predators have different territories, because that happens in real life, and predators don't like leaving their territories, and they sure don't like another predator coming into their territory. Have him have crossed some barrier that we noticed before, where and the scientist guy remarks that, oh, this must be the barrier to the T-Rex's hunting ground. He doesn't seem, have him be chased by the T-Rex earlier, and then the T-Rex stops, and they're like, huh, there must be something bigger here. This must be the boundary to the T-Rex's hunting ground. So then have him, as he's running, just subtly show that he's crossed that same thing that they marked as a boundary, and then have a T-Rex suddenly jump on the back of the thing, start fighting it, and that gives the captain a chance to, he tosses the flare into the jungle, which, again, the movement, startles the big evil dinosaur, so it's distracted. That gives the T-Rex an advantage enough for him to keep it distracted, and he's able to swim away and get on the boat, and then, the movie ends pretty much as it does there, but cut out all the subplots that went nowhere. Cut out, two of the taggings. Come out, with the blood thing. And cut out the stuff with the temples, and the ancient ruins that went nowhere. And I think there you have a good 90-minute movie that, while it has most of the same beats, the exact same cast, and the exact same monsters and locations, it would flow better. It wouldn't necessarily be the smartest movie, but it would be a little smarter, and I might be able to overlook some of the stupid stuff simply because the characters were much more compelling, so I'd be more interested in them. And, well, that's what I do to fix Jurassic World Rebirth. Do you think any of these were a good idea? I'd love to see a discussion about which of these ideas and what your ideas, how would you refine it? Do you have any ideas that are completely different on how to fix this? But within the parameters of what the movie was, I think all of these could be implemented without, increasing the budget or anything. So, yeah, that's just my basic idea. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of it. And I'll see you next time.
Hello, Q here. Hello, it's Q. Hello, Q speaking. Hello, it's Q. Oh, what do you want, 007? Hold on. Good evening, M. 007, yes, he's on the other line. 007, M wants to speak to you. Go ahead, M.
What are you doing?
I'm on a conference call. What does it look like?
See the latest Bond film, Die Another Day, at a theater near you.